Welcome to Wrasslin Raw!
All right, you're listening to Wrasslin Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when Raw became war and Attitude ruled. Thank you for joining us. You're here with Ryan Arico.
And the big gamecock is in control here.
Joe Giammatteo.
Guys, I'm just going to skip right to highlights. And my highlight is the words, Vince McMahon is on assignment tonight.
I'm the one and only Jason Bartlett. We're going to examine WWE history, one episode of Raw is War at a time. In this episode of Wrasslin Raw, we're going to be talking about the Raw that aired on September 15th, 1997. This Raw was recorded at the Worthen Arena in Muncie, Indiana, and features Jim Ross, Jerry the King Lawler, and eventually Jim Cornette on commentary. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Ready.
All right, then, let's get into it. We started this off by reminding everyone that Stone Cold Steve Austin is one vicious son of a bitch.
Goddamn rattlesnake.
He stunned good old JR. He stunned Commissioner Slaughter. And you know, damn it, he's been aiming a broom at Vince McMahon, that rattlesnake. Once the pyro settled down, we got some of the best news in recent memory. This episode was going to seemingly be just JR and the King on commentary. JR stated that Vince was on assignment. Yes.
Wonder if there'll be any antics now that the teacher is gone.
But, unlike so many of the recent episodes we've had, we are not fucking around as we head into our first match of the night. Ken Shamrock defeats Faarooq by pinfall in 2 minutes and 42 seconds in a WWF Intercontinental Title Tournament quarterfinal match. That match time had me a little concerned about Faarooq on the other side of this match. Wasn't quite sure what to think of that. The crowd is loving Ken Shamrock. They were popping their asses off for Ken Shamrock, and I was very happy to see that. That was a good sight. Faarooq ended up coming out alone. That gave me a little more hope for the aftermath of the match. And I love how spatially aware Ken Shamrock was in this match. Like, when he was selling, being blinded, for example, he still managed to move himself into the right position, made it look natural. Faarooq was able to just pick him up from there. He's really getting into that kind of stuff, as in, you know, making it look natural, and I'm really enjoying it. I also loved the King warning JR not to count out a pin before the referee does, like McMahon. That was hilarious. Faarooq's spine buster, that looked good. I feel like Shamrock has gotten a bloody lip in every one of his matches so far. I'm not sure if I'm just imagining that or what, but it feels like it happens pretty often. And if you would have blinked, you would have missed the finish. A surprise reversal into a suplex and pin, giving Shamrock the victory. That's not all. Faarooq takes a moment to dish out a Dominator in retribution. And that is, of course, followed by the Nation of Domination hitting the ring to gang up on Shamrock. But, I mean, I wasn't surprised, but I was kind of surprised because it was so predictable. The Legion of Doom showed up to rescue Ken Shamrock. I guess that's what they do nowadays. They show up to clear out the ring and rescue people. That was all ended with the Nation talking shit, Hawk and Animal raising Kenny's arms in victory. And let's also not forget, gentlemen, that Shamrock advances in the tournament. So, guys, at the start with that match time, I was a little worried that Faarooq might be getting jobbed out on this one. But that was unfounded. The action in this match was great. I thought both competitors walked away looking strong. My only real criticism would have to be LOD showing up to rescue Shamrock. They apparently have nothing better to do than to wait in the wings to rescue poor unfortunate souls. Ryan, what'd you think of our show opener here, please?
Right out of the start here, I was happy that we are finally getting a true Intercontinental title tournament match. Towards the end of it, you know, when it ended so shortly and abruptly, I did feel like Faarooq was maybe being jobbed out a little bit quick, you know, especially since he was fighting for the heavyweight title just a month and a half ago. So to have him get beat in this tournament, and what did you say, 3.5 minutes?
2:42.
Yeah, so I mean, definitely a little bit quick, but the action was pretty solid. Faarooq did a great job selling for Kenny when he was doing these midsection and quad kicks, and I did laugh, though. You talked about how Shamrock tends to bust open his mouth at some point during these matches, but JR said that he sustained some type of internal injury. It's like, Jesus, JR, really laying it on thick. If he had internal injuries, he probably would have died. So I think he maybe just bit his lip. The stuff with LOD coming out at the end, it was a bit predictable, but I would agree by the time everyone was making their way back up the ramp, everyone was kind of coming off strong. And even though it was such a short match, Faarooq didn't seem to get shit on as badly as the time would say.
Yeah, when you have two cock-strong individuals like this, somebody has to lose. I think that this was pretty well booked because Shamrock got that sneaky win. It wasn't a dominating win by any means. It was sneaky, and then Faarooq beat the shit out of him for it. So I thought it was pretty well booked, I think. And Ken Shamrock has come a long way since debuting. I mean, I was afraid he was going to show up to my house and kill me for a while because of the negative comments.
You're constant ragging on him.
But he's really come a long way, and the crowd loves him. Like you said, Bartlett, they're really popping for Shamrock, so it's nice to see. And also, we haven't seen much of the snapping since SummerSlam, and I think that's a good thing, too. You don't want to overdo it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Save it for the big moments.
Yeah.
I really like what I saw here from these two guys. I thought it was well done.
Yeah, and I don't think any of us mentioned it, but no Los Burritos. No DOA. No typical gang warfare bullshit. So, I mean, dare I hope that we've turned the corner on that.
And we won't be bringing back any other useless factions in this episode, right?
Later on tonight, we're going to be getting another quarterfinal match between Dude Love and Brian Pillman. Pillman will have Marlena with him, and Goldust has been banned from entering the building, so that's going to be impossible. Commentary also let us know that Stone Cold is in the building, but the camera view we got of this is what I loved. That was the classic view of the commentary table that I came to love and respect. After they gave us that news about Stone Cold, they just kind of did a casual pan to JR and the King sitting there, JR in the black hat, keeping things serious and giving us the facts. The King was right next to him, leaning into JR casually, making goofy comments and looking the part of color commentary. It was just damn good to see a two-man booth, and they looked so natural. They looked so perfect. They looked so...
It feels right.
A straight man in color, you know? It felt good seeing that. After a commercial break, Stone Cold Steve Austin was hanging out in the back, giving us just a little taster of the mood he's in, basically saying that he doesn't give a shit about anything. He believes in nutsing. And he looked like he was feeling pretty good about that fact, actually.
Sounds exhausting.
So this was a very short segment, guys. Let's keep it brief. Ryan, what'd you have on this Austin spot check we got here?
Not much to really add. It was a good job of just throwing in a very quick 30-second, minute-long promo by him, but it hit.
Yeah, he just says he's going to whip everybody's ass. That's what he's going to do. And I agree with you on Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler. It's the chemistry is it's there already. You can already see it in these early days. So definitely something to look forward to for sure.
I mean, we're obviously biased by the time we grew up, but the best duo ever as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, yes, absolutely. In any WWF wrestling games I always make a tag team of Jerry the King Lawler and Jim Ross. Boomer sooner. All right, gentlemen, let's go into our next match. Taka Michinoku defeats El Pantera by pinfall in 3 minutes and 58 seconds. I loved Taka's almost missile dropkick reversal at the start of this. That was a great, great move. I gotta say, I hated that cat costume, though. I took one look at Pantera and thought, no chance, not for a minute. Taka's springboard crossbody looked freaking amazing here. He got some great height on that, but I'm not sure if it was a communication issue or what, but some of these moves got heavily telegraphed. When the pace of the match is lightning quick, those awkward moments just stick out like a sore thumb for me. And the Michinoku driver still looks impressive. That's what got Taka the pin and the win. So, Joe, say what you will about all of the light heavyweight stuff, but I think Taka continues to look good in these matches. I'm really glad he's around because he's bringing a certain sizzle to this steak. What'd you think?
Yeah, I think even though the WWF is years removed from the steroid trial, it's still the land of the giants. So I think it's hard for WWF fans to really get invested in the light heavyweight division. But Taka is definitely the prototype guy for a lightweight wrestler that you would want. So he clearly needs to carry the flag for that division. Pantera has some nice moves, but they all seem pretty choreographed to me. Taka had to kind of wait to receive a lot of those moves. And Pantera accidentally kicked out of the winning pin, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw that.
No, I missed that.
A little bit of a gaffe there. But, I guess my biggest issue so far with the light heavyweight stuff is there's really no ring psychology going on. Like, there's no in-ring storytelling. It's just spot fest, kind of. Which for now is okay, but I think they're going to have to get away from that eventually.
Yeah, I thought Taka did a pretty good job, but I was really down on El Pantera here. I thought he was kind of terrible, to be honest. He couldn't sell worth shit. Like, every time Taka would hit one of his high-flying moves, Pantera looked like a bad-acting stuntman, like slowly rolling on the ground and out of the ring. And then he's wearing this ridiculous Zubaz pants-looking outfit that he's got on. I'm not going to take anything away from Taka here. He looked strong, but man, El Pantera is not the one to display it against because he's pretty bad.
Zubaz pants. Man. Okay. Good. I'm glad we went there. All right. Do you want to keep talking about Zubaz pants? That's better than what's coming up.
Yeah.
Backstage with the Truth Commission and instant lowlight. After what we had so far in the evening, this was such a downer.
Instant channel changer.
These fucking guys are glaring to me in just how disgustingly cartoonish they are. Like, I'm looking at this, maybe it's just the season that we're in, but to me, it's looking like they're wearing fucking Halloween costumes that like all came together in one bag.
Yeah.
Because they're not like actual military outfits.
Right.
They look like that shitty, oversized costume is what it looks like. Yeah, dead on.
It's not a military issue t-shirt. It's a piece of green olive drab felt cut to look like a t-shirt.
Yep.
Like I said, those complete sets all in one bag that they sell at Walmart. This particular set I thought would be maybe called South African Kindergarten Commando. That's copyright, by the way. The Commandant gave a shitty promo highlighting the advantages of true military discipline, and we'll see how good that fucking discipline is, you cocksucker, when they try to fucking march in time to their music. I don't think they can do it still.
I'm glad you got another good look at your Christmas gift there.
Boy.
Shut up. But you know what? Thank God the Commandant reminded us about the names of his stupid fucking goons there. I had forgotten since the one time we saw them.
Say their names.
You must remember my man Recon and my man Sniper. And don't forget the Interrogator. This was just another short mid-match segment of questionable quality. And Joe, like you said, I would have changed the channel on this. What'd you think of it?
Questionable is putting it nicely, sir. It was terrible. Just terrible. I mean, it's very cartoony, very bad video game like, I guess. Really shitty.
Yeah, the moment I saw the Commandant on my screen, I zoned out. It's like hitting a commercial when you're in the middle of watching something and you just you're watching it, but it's not connecting. It's not sinking in. You know.
And then they're going to have a match, so you're immediately changing the channel.
Yeah.
Yes, if this was back in 97, the channel would have been changed the moment his face came on the television. But unfortunately, sometimes for us, we gotta stomach through these.
Yeah. Yep. I wonder if the Legion of Doom ever would have entertained losing to these guys. Just,
Ooh.
It's an interesting thought experiment. All right, let's get this over with our next match. The Legion of Doom, Hawk and Animal, defeat the Truth Commission, that's Recon and Sniper, with the Commandant and the Interrogator at the outside by disqualification in 3 minutes and 38 seconds. Yep, they still can't march in time. I called it.
That's that military discipline.
Yeah. How fucking dare they throw up the forearm X like New Jack? Like, I wish New Jack would come out of nowhere and cut these motherfuckers for doing this. A USA chant got going in the crowd. I wanted to slap everyone in the arena for encouraging this shit. I did enjoy the dramatic setup for the Doomsday device, which JR called the Devastation device. I'm still a little confused on that because I don't think that's the first time that's happened.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was a mistake or if that's what they're calling it. I don't know.
Yeah. But that is what drew in the Interrogator to break up the pinfall and get the disqualification victory for LOD. The Truth Commission started attacking LOD, so of course Shamrock came out to rescue them. He was followed by the fucking Nation of Domination. And you know what? I have to point out that the last people the Nation of Domination would want to side with would be a bunch of apartheid-loving motherfuckers like the South African Truth Commission, by the way. I mean, that seems a little, antithetical there. And that clusterfuck beatdown is where this ended. I hated all of it. Ryan, what'd you think of it?
Yeah, the Truth Commission is just as bad as they were a couple months ago when they debuted. And JR gives us a disgusting factoid that the Truth Commission is undefeated so far in the WWF. That's just...
Pretty sure they only had one match. I mean...
Well, that we saw. I'm assuming they've been on Saturday Night Shotgun pretty much every week, is my guess.
They've been beating Vader in house shows. How perfect would that be?
Vader. And I don't know, they keep on pointing out how large everyone is in this group, and I guess that's true, but that doesn't make them a good faction, like they're pretty terrible. Shamrock then comes out, then the Nation, and then that was when it hit me that the Truth Commission has replaced Savio's faction.
Oh, don't say that.
I think that's what's happened in this faction warfare that we have. We wished for it and we got our wishes granted. They replaced them with the Truth Commission. So I guess
goddamn monkey paw.
Be careful what we wish for. We got to remember that moving forward.
Well, it seems like the plan with the Truth Commission is pretty clear that they're just trying to get one guy over, and he's not even in the fucking match.
I know, right?
The biggest guy I just talked about, the land of the giants is still kind of lingering, and here's the proof. That
on the outside of the ring.
This big, unathletic monster just there, not in the match. And if I'm booking this show, if I'm writing out this show, I'm definitely putting this in between, right sandwiched in between a light heavyweight match and a minis match. And I'm sure you guys would agree. It's a perfect spot for this.
Yeah. The perfect spot would have been in the garbage. But you're right. A second best, yes. You're absolutely right. All right, so let's see. What was next? Oh, yeah. I know you want me! And the crowd fucking exploded. Sunny came down the ramp. She kissed some lucky young man there at the barrier. And then she got in the ring. Sunny looked pretty bombed out here, just my opinion. The way she was acting, she was very sloppy in her movements. She looked like she had bags on. She looks like, I'm sure anybody can picture this. She looks like that friend of yours that gets back from the bar at 2 o'clock in the morning. Not falling down drunk, but pretty buzzed.
She's ordering made-to-order food.
Yes. Yeah. My guess was that maybe she just got off the slopes, if you know what I mean. But Sunny was the guest ring announcer for our next match. Max Mini and Mr. Lucky defeat El Torito and Piratita Morgan by pinfall in 6 fucking minutes and 53 seconds. Good God.
Never get it back.
I would have changed the channel at Truth Commission, and when I would have maybe checked back and saw this, I probably would not have come back again for the rest of the night.
Blocked USA from the remote.
Because I guarantee you I would have changed the channel at Truth Commission, And then, let's see, that was a 3-minute match, and then come back and you go watch another match over on WCW for 4 minutes. You check back in on Raw.
Yep.
That's about the right timing for Mr. fucking Lucky here. I'm just going to say it. I didn't watch this. I fucking hate anything to do with this midget shit. I don't think I can do this type of match anymore. Joe, do you have anything on this?
Oh, I was chipping golf balls again during this one.
Practicing that short game.
Yeah.
Ooh, short game.
Mm-hmm.
The crowd only cares about Sunny right now, and I feel the same.
Yep.
So, and it was way too long.
Yeah.
I mean, it just went way too long. And yeah, Sunny, it looks like she is in no condition to entertain a crowd right now, and she's going to look like that when she goes to ECW and WCW. Like, I think she's in a bad place here and not able to entertain. So that's kind of sad to see.
Yeah.
She does look like she could entertain 4 midgets, though.
They were having a fun time. Yeah, I'll start off, kind of at the same spot. Sunny came out here, and as far as physically from the neck down, she still looks fine. But as soon as you see her mouth and face and eyes, she looks.
Take a look at that kisser.
Oh my! Well, I mean, it's not that she's ugly. It's just she looks like you said, like it's 3-4 in the morning, and she smells of cigarette smoke.
Yeah.
It's just she looks well worn at this point.
Start at the goozle and work your way up.
But I did watch this match, sadly, and I will let you know, Mr. Lucky, he's like El Pantera. He was terrible.
Well, with a name like Mr. Lucky, I'm shocked.
I came up with a new nickname for him. He's Mr. Sucky because he was absolutely terrible. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't want to rip into this little guy, but the other 3 were bad on their own right, but Mr. Lucky took it to a new level.
Need to get a copyright on that, pal. All right. Well, thankfully, things kicked up a notch when we came out of that last segment. And by kicked up a notch, I mean we got a groovy backbeat to take us into our next match. Brian Pillman with Marlena defeats Dude Love by disqualification in 4 minutes and 47 seconds in a WWF Intercontinental Title Tournament quarterfinal match. For anyone out there keeping track, this was the match that was supposed to happen last week when we got the crime scene footage from Pillman's hotel room instead. This match is what should have happened then. And I know I've been talking about Goth Marlena here for the past few weeks. We finally got her here, and sweet Christ, she looked amazing. JR rushed over to get a quick word from her, and she gave a hostage statement about missing her family and wanting to go home. I mean, I thought that was pretty funny. There was a sign in the crowd that said, "Where is Superfly?" And all I could think of was not in an Allentown jail.
Oh, boy.
And I have to admit that I kept getting distracted by Marlena. The action in the ring was fine, but the camera spent just as much time on her as it did on the match. And, if I'm given the choice between Mick Foley's ass in blue tights versus Goth Marlena, I mean, I'm a weak man. I'm going to go with Marlena on that one. I absolutely loved Dude Love smacking Pillman's face off of the turnbuckles from top to bottom. He did 3 hits on the top, 3 in the middle, 3 on the bottom. Fucking loved it.
Got a nice smirk out of Marlena from that, too. That was a good,
yep.
Nice touch on that.
And then, of course, Goldust shows up to attack Pillman. That's what draws the disqualification. But all I could think of once he was there is that they really, really went out of their way to make him look like Dusty Rhodes. He didn't have the suit or the paint or anything like that on. He had jeans tucked into cowboy boots. He had a sleeveless t-shirt and white wraps around his wrists. I mean, that's fucking late 70s Dusty Rhodes, am I right? Early 70s?
Was his face even painted? I don't think it was, right?
No, not at all.
Nope, just the blonde hair. And so, Ryan, I'm hoping you have more on the action here, because I'm not lying when I say that my eyes were drawn to Marlena through almost the entire match.
I mean, I don't have a ton more on the match only because I don't think it was entirely your fault. The focus of the camera and the match was more on Marlena and Brian Pillman and the Goldust story than it was on the match. And, you know, the crowd was definitely into this story now, I think. We are a little bit too, but sadly that came at the cost of Dude Love and his chance at the Intercontinental belt and moving forward in this title, because the actions of Goldust at the end disqualify him. So he's not moving on. There's not a ton more to really talk about other than completely agree. Goth Marlena coming out here, it stills the show. Sorry, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm not sure that that's the reaction that they wanted people to have, is to be more turned on by Marlena here, but that's exactly what happens. But I think there was a little bit of overacting going on here with a lot of this. And I feel that way with basically a lot of stuff that the Goldust character has done since he debuted. Mm-hmm. There's just been a little too much overacting, but I see what they're trying to do. And again, the fact that they have to bring up that Marlena is a mother, it's ruined the whole thing. And they have a big hole to climb out of. Like, again, I don't know why the kid has to be in the picture. Like, I just don't think it's just not right.
Yeah,
first off, not right. It's not necessary. Like, they're husband and wife. Brian Pillman kidnapped his wife. Why do you have to bring up the fact that she's a mother? I don't know. It's annoying.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add on to that, because even though we're making progress, like, that story is moving along, it just feels like it's spinning its wheels. Like, it doesn't feel like it's going anywhere, even though it is. Does that make any sense? Like, do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I get what you mean. You know, they're adding more to it, but almost like back with the Hunter, Mr. Perfect was messing with him. It was like,
oh, yeah.
It just kept on happening, and they were going somewhere with it, but it was just taking a little too long to get there.
Yeah. All right. Well, that match is what ended the first hour of Raw, and the correct way to start the second hour is with the sound of breaking glass. In case anybody's wondering, Stone Cold made his way down to the ring to be interviewed by the King, and I immediately wondered if the King was going to be safe from the stunner or not. It's questions like these that keep me coming back, that make me, try to tune back in whenever I'm not getting turned off by midgets, I mean. The King reminded everybody that Stone Cold is on a roll with the stunners, hitting JR, Commissioner Slaughter, and he also hyped the moment someday when Vince McMahon will get it too. Once again, Stone Cold called Vince an arrogant piece of trash, and I loved it. Things really heated up, though, when Bret Hart and the Hart Foundation came out to the top of the entryway with a microphone. They brought some kind of official person there with them to serve Austin with a restraining order, preventing Austin from coming near Owen Hart upon penalty of arrest for violation. Owen delivered the promo explaining the restraining order situation, and I thought that sounded great. He did a great job of it. And after it was delivered, the King, he kept on looking over Austin's shoulder to try to read it, and he was yelling into the microphone while he was doing that, kind of almost like yelling in Austin's ear about the restraining order, trying to pull pieces off of the paper to inform the crowd about. And in a perfect moment, when the King was leaning over to read it again, Austin just grabbed the King and hit the stunner, with JR yelling, "Lawler just got it!" I laughed when Austin punted the crown up the entryway. That was just like a perfect cherry on top for this. And JR really capped it off nicely, listing the next possible targets. Could it be you? Could it be me? It could be anyone. All of that good feeling was immediately shat upon with the news that the Patriot will be in action next. And as a bonus surprise, Jim Cornette came out to take the place of the King on commentary. And that's where we'll pause this. Ryan, we keep checking names off the stunner list. And really, what better way to start the hour? What did you think of this?
Yeah, a really good way to start things off. You know, we've mentioned it many times at this point, but it's still kind of shocking to see the crowd reaction when Austin comes out of the curtain. They just explode. And it seems like 75% of the people in the crowd have either a Stone Cold shirt or a Stone Cold sign. I mean, it's just, It's amazing, his popularity. And he comes out here and just immediately starts ripping into everyone. JR, Vince McMahon, Slaughter, Owen, just doing the Stone Cold routine out here, and it's still good. The Hart Foundation up top. Nice little kink they throw in here with the lawyer and the restraining order. We all know he's definitely going to abide by that restraining order, so that was exciting to see. And the moment Lawler started barking in Austin's ear, you knew it was coming. It was telegraphed for about 30 seconds here, but it was a great payoff. The moment the King got it and JR just ecstatic about it. Great scene, great segment.
I didn't remember this. You know, I remembered the Jim Ross one. I remember the Vince McMahon one, obviously. I kind of remembered the Slaughter one, but this one I didn't remember at all. So this was nice to watch. I thought it was well done. I like the aspect of throwing in that restraining order piece. I thought that was pretty funny, especially with that guy just walking it all the way down.
Yeah. I thought for sure the lawyer was going to get it.
Yeah. That would have been funny as hell. But Jerry Lawler gets it, and to no surprise, Jerry Lawler and Sergeant Slaughter take the best stunners out of these four guys here. Not surprising at all. You know, the thing that's great about Austin is that lone wolf type character. This guy has no friends. Remember Friendship over the past couple years?
No friendship with him.
Kind of annoying, and he's a lone wolf guy. There's nobody. He just wants to beat the shit out of everybody. He doesn't care who it is, and that's what makes him great.
What a breath of fresh air. All right, well, let's get this one over with. Our next match. The Patriot defeats Owen Hart by pinfall in 10 minutes and 37 seconds. Just reading that out loud makes me want to puke. I did like that the crowd was booing Owen rather than cheering the Patriot. It's a fine distinction to make, maybe, but a worthwhile one, I think. I don't know if it's been mentioned yet, but here's where we got the news that Vader and the Patriot will be teaming up as a tag team at the next pay-per-view.
Oh, great.
Yeah, again, I called it. Good news, everyone. It's going to be a flag match.
Oh. Can't wait to take the wallet out for that one.
Yeah, honestly. You give us a match that's already like, oh, that's going to be a shitty one. And it's a flag match. Oh,
capture the flag.
No, capture the flag would at least make sense. It's not capture the flag. It's capture your
flag
own
on a forklift.
Flag. Yeah, it's flag on a fuck stick.
This was one of the slowest Owen Hart matches in recent memory. I was definitely nonplussed by that. But then Stone Cold appeared at the top of the entryway, surrounded by police, going into a commercial break. And on the other side of that, Austin had disappeared, but the police remained. I hope there's not literally hundreds of other avenues of approach that Austin could take advantage of around the ring and that are nowhere near the top of the ramp.
I also hope there's no other crimes happening in the city that they could just sit here standing up at the top of the ramp waiting for Stone Cold.
That was at least 2 patrol cars worth of cars there. I spoke too soon on that last thing, though. Austin came in through the crowd just long enough to distract Owen without touching him. That distraction gave the Patriot the surprise roll-up for the victory. Owen wanted Austin arrested, but Austin casually left the same way he came in, because the police didn't run or try to catch him at all. There were no immediate consequences to Austin's violation of the restraining order that I noticed, at least. And that's it for me, gentlemen. Frankly, I thought the Patriot made Owen look bad in this, but that's not a hill I'm willing to die on. Joe, did you enjoy this as much as I did?
I agree with you. The Patriot is incredibly slow and boring in the ring. One of the worst power slams I've ever seen in my life. It has no power to it whatsoever. I've been listening to some other podcasts about this time period, and they talk about the Patriot, like Bruce Pritchard and Jim Ross and those guys. They say that Del Wilkes was I guess he was having issues with injuries and he wasn't what they thought he would be when they brought him in. But I feel like they're just kind of covering their own ass there, because I think this guy just sucks as a wrestler, to be honest.
I mean, I think he's just a big muscular body is basically the deal with him.
Yeah. And just not very athletic. You know, and this was used as a way to get Stone Cold involved anyway, so the match was kind of meaningless anyways. So, I mean, it served its purpose, I guess, to get Stone Cold to get his hands on Owen.
I'm going to start off with something you said, Bartlett, at the beginning of this match, saying that they were booing Owen and not necessarily cheering for the Patriot. And that was really, really made clear. Right at the beginning, Patriot comes out first, and the crowd is just completely dead, completely silent. You know, he's waving the American flag, and not a single fuck is given by anyone in the crowd until Owen comes out. Once Owen comes out, you know, and he's waving the Canadian flag, all of a sudden the crowd get on their feet. They're booing Owen. So it really does give a large amount of credit to Owen in how he's able to make the fans boo for him and get a little reaction out of this dead crowd that the Patriot killed. Sadly, as you both stated, though, this is going to be one of Owen's, one of his worser matches we've seen. I mean, it's obviously all the Patriot's fault, but even Owen wasn't able to muster a good match out of the Patriot. It was just kind of slow and boring, and then led to the Stone Cold coming down ultimately, which did end a little bit odd in the way that the cops just slowly walked at him. Like they had zero care to actually arrest Stone Cold. They didn't take their acting lessons. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, and that continued to be very evident after this. The police were backstage, just casually walking around, looking in closets for Steve Austin, but probably only finding Dave Hebner. Oh! Well, I take that back. Not all of them were walking casually. There was this one guy that had his hand on his fucking gun ready to draw, which I thought was hilarious. After that, though, Shawn Michaels came down to the ring for an interview with JR. He was wearing less than what he usually wears in a match.
Less and more.
Yeah. All I could think of was that he must have found a shipwreck of hot pants on a beach somewhere. Shawn said that he has a goal of attaining the European title, therefore being the first superstar to hold every title in the WWF. And I thought that was a great little nugget. That was a great line. That's a great goal to shoot for. I'm all for that. I'm interested in that. Shawn decided that the root of all of his problems, though, should be laid at the feet of the WWF administration. He was listing the recent series of events leading up to Shawn's upcoming situation, where he will be sealed in a cage with death itself. Shawn gets a little cryptic at the end of it, though, saying that if he goes down to the depths of hell in that Hell in a Cell match, he's going to take everyone with him, which to me at least sounded like a threat of extortion, because, I mean, I don't know how else a single match loss
or a bomb
take
threat,
down
one of the two.
Yeah. In a world where kidnapping and rape are okay outcomes of a wrestling stipulation, hey man, whatever, I'm rolling with it, baby. The Undertaker then responded, making a Hellraiser reference with the whole "I have such sights to show you" line. I don't know if you guys caught that or not. I thought it was a Hellraiser reference, at least. And that's more or less where that wound up. I thought this was a great segment. I mean, it wasn't in the upper echelon of promos or anything, but it did a great job of keeping that Hell in a Cell match front and center in everyone's awareness. The promos here were executed perfectly fine for that purpose, and it's doing a great job of getting me excited about and willing to pay for that pay-per-view. Joe, what all did you have on this segment?
Well, as soon as I saw the stuffed bike shorts, I got as excited as you did when you saw Goth Marlena. Because the stories about this interview are fantastic. Jim Ross and Bruce Pritchard tell stories about this that is just hilarious. Shawn stuffs his shorts with something, socks
Tube
or something
socks,
like that.
I believe.
Yeah.
JR says it is.
JR says this was just unprofessional and uncalled for. There's a lot of stuff that was edited, unfortunately.
Just not right.
So we can't see all of it, but this is also, I guess, backstage where Vince coined the term attitude. So yeah, there you go. The interview itself, I think, was okay. It's again helping to set up this Hell in a Cell match, which up to this point we've never seen or heard of. So it's still keeping us interested.
Yeah, what we actually got to see here did its job. It set up the Hell in the Cell match. But yeah, Joe, the amount of stories you hear about this, it's a pretty infamous segment. Shawn Michaels, it looks like he has a fucking cod piece on here when he comes out. And I guess what we miss is at one point during Shawn Michaels' long striptease entrance, he's gyrating his cod piece into the face of JR, which JR did not take kindly to. And I guess he also, after The Undertaker's response up on the Titantron, Shawn Michaels, and this was cut out too, which is why at the end it just got a little bit jumpy and almost a little confusing as to where Shawn was at when he made the statement. But I guess he started ripping into The Undertaker and actually like called him out, basically saying, why don't you come out to the ring and fight me, type of a talk, knowing that this was a recorded segment and that The Undertaker wasn't on premise. So he punked out The Undertaker, which was really unprofessional. You know, a lot of people unhappy about that. And I suggest people go out and listen to JR or Pritchard's take on it because it's pretty entertaining.
All right. Well, thank you for that, gentlemen. That was a huge part of the story that I had missed. We were talking about that off air before we started recording, and I was unaware of all of that. I think I had heard JR talk about it once or twice, but it was quite a while ago, and I had forgotten. So thank you for bringing that up.
Well, also, it ends, JR isn't too happy. As you said, this is where Vince coined the term attitude. So JR was hoping Vince was going to come back and be angry at Shawn, and instead Vince is like, well, this is what we need. This is attitude. So
we need Shawn Michaels' bulge
in my face next time.
All right, let's go now to our final match of the night. The Headbangers, Mosh and Thrasher, defeat the Hart Foundation, Bret Hart and the British Bulldog by disqualification in 12 minutes and 45 seconds to retain the WWF Tag Team Championship. Jim Cornette came out to join commentary right around in here, so this is where he's going to be joining Jim. Cornette mentioned Jim Neidhart at the start of this match, and I cringed.
No.
Like, ooh, please don't do that. I mentioned before in our Ground Zero episode that I'm doing my best to maintain optimism about the Headbangers title reign here, and through the first few minutes of this match, I wasn't dissuaded from that. The Headbangers were doing a decent job of working with the Hart Foundation. I mean, no surprise that Bret or the Bulldog were working well in a tag team format, but the Headbangers just felt like they were on equal footing with them, or maybe that was just, Bret being willing to put them over. I'm not sure. Commentary did a good job of working that too, in my opinion, noting that the Headbangers went from zeros to champions, and it was just because they needed that confidence boost. They got the belts by a fluke of luck, but now that they have those belts, they're more comfortable taking on the big dogs like the Hart Foundation. And you know what? I was seeing that in the ring. The way that this match was working out, the Headbangers did look like a more mature tag team than they have previously. Cornette especially was doing well putting the Headbangers over, and I wasn't very surprised by that, but I was just sitting back and enjoying the match up through the point where the world's worst referee called a pinfall on the illegal man in the ring. After hitting the 3 count, Hebner informed the ring announcer that the match must continue. But that didn't last long because the Bulldog went and pulled an American flag from somewhere. I don't know if it was left over from the Patriot and Owen, but Davey Boy and Bret had had enough and decided to start choking people with it. And that is what drew the official DQ victory for the Headbangers. But unfortunately, it also drew out the Patriot and Vader. Oh, and that is more or less where this episode ended as we faded to black. That optimism that I had for the Tag Team Championships was slightly diminished by using the champions as a vehicle to get the fucking Patriot and Vader into the mix with the Hart Foundation here. I hope I'm not right with that, but Ryan, what'd you think of this match and the way that Raw ended tonight?
Well, the match itself, I was pretty high on. I thought it was a little bit funny, Cornette talking up the Headbangers, even though I understand it. But he's supposed to be the heel commentary here, and he's talking up his old Smoky Mountain Wrestling former employees. But to a pretty good job, though. I thought the way he was laying it out made sense and was being played out in the ring. The Headbangers are looking pretty solid, and it could just be because they're up against Bulldog and Bret Hart, but I thought that this was a very solid match from both sides. You know, it didn't matter who was on the offensive. It was just some good wrestling going on in there. Right up until I hit the one of my most hated sentences in wrestling, "The match must continue." I just hated it. It always leads to shittiness, and here it didn't even really continue. Like, it continued the match, and then immediately there was a disqualification. And I don't know if Bulldog took this flag from the people in the crowd, because he was having a bit of a fight and struggle with the flag with some people in the front row there, and then he does finally get it and uses it as a weapon. But unfortunately, Patriot and Vader do come out and shit things up a little bit at the end. But as far as the actual match went, it was one of the stronger actual wrestling matches of the night.
I don't know. I see Bret as the champion, and I feel like the screw job is already in the works and has been for a little bit here, because, you know, we had The Undertaker with the belt for 6 or 7 months, whatever, and they didn't really give him anything good to do as far as, you know, actually having that title. There were no good storylines or anything like that. And now we shift it to Bret, and it's, again, like, I mean, part of it is his own doing because he couldn't work with Shawn Michaels, and part of it is Steve Austin is injured, you know, but like, fuck, he's working with the Patriot. Now he's in some shitty tag team match that he's gonna not win. You know, the Hart Foundation was such a great heel faction, and they're kind of losing that a little bit right now, I think. So the past 2 weeks, you know, last week we talked about Bret. He was in the second match of the night against Vader that was just shitty. And then we get this week with this clusterfuck ending, and then we have Vader and the Patriot coming out, and now he's going to be working against Vader and the Patriot. It's like, man, why can't we do something a little bit better with this? It's kind of shitty. So I thought this was another terrible ending to Raw. You know, you have Earl Hebner ruining the match. You know, shocking. And then you have the run-in from Vader and Patriot. Who wants to see that?
Yeah. What a way to end the match out, or a Raw out, Patriot and Vader.
Yeah. With the real insult to all of our intellects being that the Bulldog, I mean, if he would have had a little more gas in the tank, he could have broken that flag on the first try.
Yep.
But he's been dialing it back.
He has.
Yeah, got that bum knee. He's got to lay off the gas a little bit.
He's been donating it to Scott Putski, so.
All right, guys, as I said, we faded to black. So let's take it on over to highlights and lowlights. Joe, why don't you take that first?
Well, my highlight was Vince McMahon not on commentary.
As stated at
the beginning. Yep. I don't know. I don't think this was a very good episode of Raw. Again, I thought the ending was bad. The ending gave me nothing to want to tune in next week. We had, like I said earlier, a light heavyweight match, then the Truth Commission, then the minis. Like, you are not going to keep me tuned in.
No.
To on a Monday night. So low light, I guess the entire fucking show, other than Stone Cold and Shawn Michaels. But even the Shawn Michaels interview was edited. So I think the whole show gets my highlight, or my low light. Sorry.
Yeah, this was definitely an episode of Raw that was in the thick of the 83 weeks. It's a pretty weak one, and as far as highlights go, it's a struggle, but I think Shamrock Faarooq, even though it was a shorter match, I thought that had the best story and some of the best action, so I'm going to go with that as my highlight. And my low light this week, I am going to go with the minis and Mr. Sucky, because he was just so fucking bad. The minis are my low light.
My highlight, I was more in Joe's camp. I was struggling to find things. I did briefly consider Faarooq and Shamrock, but I ended up going with Stone Cold stunning Jerry Lawler as my highlight. I mean, it was worked perfectly. The whole scene, the whole setup for it was just right. It was definitely the highlight of the entire episode for me. But I did want to give Goth Marlena an honorable mention there. Low light. Well, that's going to be the midget shit, always and forever. Joseph, what kind of contemporary wrestling news from on and around September 15th, 1997 do you have for us?
From The Observer, we have some news on September 11th, 1997. In Amarillo, Texas, there was an event that was billed as 50 Years of Funk.
Oh.
And I'm not talking about Flash Funk, boys. The main event of this event was Terry Funk versus Bret Hart in what was being advertised as Terry Funk's final match.
That's his match that is in Beyond the Mat documentary.
It's funny you say that, Ryan, because Dave Meltzer says this match was also taped for a movie tentatively titled Beyond the Mat. So you are correct. That is featured in the movie.
That's actually, so just to lend some connection to us, Bartlett, your picture that's the opposite.
Oh, Dennis Stamp.
Dennis Stamp. He is the one in that segment bitching to Terry Funk about, I'm not on the card. No, I'm not coming. I'm not on the card. That's him.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Dennis Stamp was not on the card, but...
but he does referee that match.
Somebody else who was on the card was Mankind. He had a match on that show as well. So Mankind and Bret Hart appeared on that show. And I guess Terry Funk and Bret Hart had one hell of a match. So if there's any way to watch that, I'm sure it's on YouTube or something. It's probably worth checking out. The biggest news this week was, of course, Shawn Michaels and his behavior at the Raw taping on September 9th. According to Dave, wearing tight stuffed bike shorts, making lewd gyrations towards Jim Ross, swearing, calling out The Undertaker, calling him a chicken shit, even though The Undertaker was on video and not at the event. So that's the insider info there. I know you guys will be excited for this piece of news. Mark Marrow and Ahmed Johnson are expected back this weekend.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, quite a duo.
They will likely appear on the Madison Square Garden Raw next week, so get ready. Last piece of news here. Remember Aldo Montoya?
Oh,
yes.
Man of War.
His real name is PJ Walker, and apparently Paul Heyman asked the WWF to release PJ Walker from his contract so that he could have him work in ECW, but
nice.
Paul Heyman was turned down.
Aww.
So they are not going to release Aldo from his contract quite yet.
And why would you release somebody that's headlining that many shows, bringing in that much money?
Yeah.
The pyro alone that they sink into his entrance.
Sunk cost.
And that is all this week.
All right. Thank you, Joseph. Illuminating as always. And I just wanted to give a quick heads up to our listeners out there. We're going to have a little hiccup in our release schedule. The episode that is going to be, well, that would ordinarily drop on October 23rd is going to be dropping the following week. On October 30th. We're going to be taking a week off due to some scheduling changes. So we'll keep giving you reminders of that.
The podcast must continue.
And with that, that's it, folks. We are done with this one. I want to thank you again for joining us. If you like what we're doing here and want to connect with us, you can email us at WRASSLINRAW. Just add @gmail.com to the end of that to submit questions or comments. Check us out on social media and on every podcast subscription platform. While you're there, don't forget to follow and subscribe to get every episode of Wrasslin Raw coming to you every week. Give us a 5-star review and tell all of your friends to tune in to the most patriotic Monday Night Raw review podcast on the airwaves. Next week on Wrasslin Raw, we're going to take a look at the Raw that aired on September 22nd, 1997, with matches featuring Rocky Maivia, Owen Hart, and many more. So, for Joe and Ryan, I'm Jason, and this has been Wrasslin Raw.